In this week's episode of Ignition GT, Juliet finds out if Honda's new entry-level sedan really is amazing.
The interior of this new Amaze is far more modern and it doesn't feel as budgety as it did before.
We drive the Volkswagen Up GTI on its home turf. Oh, we like it a lot. And two unlikely hatchback rivals from Opel and Suzuki go head-to-head.
This GL model comes with passenger and driver airbags, as well as ABS.
Now, if you are shopping for a new sedan on a really tight budget, you do have your work cut out for you. Gone are the days of the Polo, Vivo, the Toyota Yaris, and even the Renault Logan. Remember the Logan? Well, Honda has seen the gap in the market and seized it with both hands.
Gone is the Honda Brio Amaze, and in its place is this, the Honda Amaze. So Honda has essentially just dropped the word Brio from its name. Actually, no, they've done more than that. This car is brand new from the ground up, and Honda hopes to capture a customer who will make Honda their brand of choice for the rest of their lives. Let's be frank, a compact sedan really struggles to look good, but this Amaze is giving it a good go, especially from the rear. It's built as a sedan dimensionally, so it is a bit larger, and in fact from its predecessor it's 5mm longer and 15mm wider, and the wheelbase has increased by a whopping 65mm, which means that there's more space in the interior, but more on that later. Up front, you'll see a bit of the CR-V and Civic coming through, especially with Honda's solid wing appearance, which extends across the width of the contrasting black honeycomb grille. The alloy wheels have been upsized from 14 to 15 inches, and if you come around to the back, you'll notice the C-shaped taillight clusters which frame the boot lid. Does that sound like it comes from a press release? Well, it did, but I paraphrased. You can choose from our new colors, this being the Lunar Silver Metallic. The Comfort model has color-coded mirrors and door handles. For those who want to add a bit more bling to your Amaze, you can opt for the Chrome package or the Utility package, which both add a bit of detailing here and there. The problem with this particular segment is that most manufacturers spew out cars that are as bland as dishwater. The difference here is that the Honda Amaze, although not radical in the styling department, still offers a package with somewhat unique styling, and I'm sure it will stand out amongst its rivals. The interior of this new Amaze is far more modern and it doesn't feel as budgety as it did before. You can choose between a trend level or comfort level. This is comfort, and Honda's so generous with standard specs, so you don't really need anything else. In fact, this comfort comes with a multi-function steering wheel, all-round electric windows, this 4-speaker audio system with Bluetooth, it's got a USB port and electric mirrors. But even the trend isn't so far behind. In fact, all you lose there is the electric mirrors and you get manual air conditioning instead of this automatic one. With that said, don't take this into account when operating the infotainment system. It resembles a 1980s calculator display, and I think Honda could have done a bit of a better job with it. And my pet hate, and I'm not picking on Honda here because this occurs across this budget segment, is that you have to use a key to open the boot. How much would it cost to just add a little button? Because of the longer wheelbase, space in this new Amaze is really impressive. I'm sitting behind myself, and yes, I'm not the tallest person in the world, but as you can see, legroom is pretty generous. And something unique that Honda is offering at no cost on the comfort or trend level are these synthetic leather seat covers. Now, I know they sound like a bit of an afterthought, but I'm actually quite impressed by them. You wouldn't maybe know that they are in fact covers, except for maybe the zips that are down the back here. And the two-tone might bother some people, but I think if it was all black, it would just be too claustrophobic. You'd feel closed in, and at least it follows the rest of this two-tone trim here. From a safety point of view, you can expect dual front airbags, pre-tensioner ELR seatbelts, ISOFIX child seat anchors, and ABS with EBD. The problem with these cheap and cheerful budget cars are that they're exactly that, cheap and cheerful. But what Honda has done really well is to make it not feel that way. In fact, it just feels a little bit more classy, and one could even say a little bit more premium. Both the Trend and Comfort line are powered by a 1.2-litre four-cylinder petrol engine, either mated to a 5-speed manual gearbox or the CVT. You're getting 66 kilowatts and 110 newton meters of torque. So around town, it's perfect, and you can even push it on the open road. It's still quite impressive. The manual, you just want that extra 6th gear, but I always want a 6th gear. The CVT power delivery is great. It's actually quite impressive. You're only going to hear the strain of the engine when you really push it. And if you consider that most of the buyers in this market, which are young first-time buyers, retirees wanting to downsize, or taxi services such as Uber, you'll understand how this car probably should be driven, and that's actually just with ease. Pricing is just at 179,900 Rand for the 1.2-litre Trend and goes up to 208,900 Rand for the Comfort. When you consider what you're getting, it's really well priced. It does face some stiff competition like the Suzuki Desire or the Ford Figo and Toyota Etios sedans. And Honda must be thrilled that the Volkswagen Polo Vivo sedan has been discontinued, because it opens up a gap for these rivals to fill. Either way, we will certainly be seeing a lot of Amazes, Amaze Z's, Amaze I's on our roads, that's for sure.
We continue our theme of affordable motoring later on in the show when we pit the Suzuki Celerio against the Opel Adam. And after the break, we update you on some of the models making local and international headlines, including VW's hot new Up GTI. Hello and welcome back to Ignition GT. So if you have been watching the show throughout 2018, you'll know that it has been a fantastic year for hot hatches. Not only have the Renault Megane RS and the VW Polo GTI made their local debuts, but overseas too, a raft of new pocket rockets have hit the road, and here is one of them. On a recent trip to Germany, we got a chance to drive the Volkswagen Up GTI, a car that is not destined for our shores. But hey, if it's got a GTI badge on it, you bet I want to drive it. And it is a looker. Besides the trademark GTI red detailing on the grille and badging, the Up GTI has a different front bumper with additional cooling vents and gloss black detailing. There's Golf Club Sport inspired racing stripes down the flanks, side skirts and standout 17-inch Oswald wheels. There's also a rear spoiler that's not only sporty on the eye, but also gives the Up greater high-speed stability. You are going to be giggling with excitement before you even unlock the door. With cloth seats paying tribute to the Mark I, which I love by the way, there are splashes of red along the dash and a sporty D-shaped wheel, so the excitement does continue on the inside. The Up for me has always felt like a grown-up small car. VW's comfort and refinement filtered down from their bigger models. But what I would have loved is a steering wheel with reach adjustment. Oh, and also a USB that's not hidden away in what looks like an optional extra phone mount. Oh, we like it a lot. Little 1 litre 3-cylinder, but they've slapped a turbo in. It's actually the engine that does duty in the entry-level Golf. So you can imagine in a car like the Up that weighs under a ton, how much fun and responsive it's going to be. For the first time also ever in Up, there's now a 6-speed manual short shift, so you really can optimize the power. The power, 85 kilowatts, that's up from the standard 55 on the naturally aspirated, and 200 Newton meters. It might not sound like much, but you know, when it's packaged like this, it takes you back to the good old days of what a hot hatch or a little pocket rocket should be about. This isn't a car that's going to win anything in a straight line, but I think you're going to be chasing up the tail of a lot bigger cars, faster cars, when you get to the twisty mountain passes. That's also thanks to those wheels on each corner and the compact dimensions, as well as the great chassis. They have tweaked the springs and the dampers to stiffen things up, and you also are sitting 15 millimeters closer to the ground. Even so, the ride quality was actually pretty good. It was only in the harshest of road conditions that things got a little choppy. A few negatives: it's a city car, there are tight parkings, but you have these massive doors, so you're going to have to suck in that tummy. Oh, and also that VW isn't bringing it to SA, but I said that already. Yes, we know exchange rates, price point, in-brand competition, but then offer it as a special order item. The new generation boy racers will love it. And for guys like me, it's nice to feel young again. Back home, Mahindra South Africa introduced updated versions of their popular XUV 500 and the KUV 100 models. The former not only benefits from a comprehensive redesign, which does give it a more up-to-date and upmarket appearance, but the range has also been expanded with the addition of a new entry-level W4 automatic and the W10 flagship model. At 360,000 Rand, the W4 is one of the most affordable 7-seat automatics in the Republic, while the W10 comes standard with convenience features like keyless entry, electrically adjustable driver's seat, and a sunroof, as well as hill descent control. Upgrades to the KUV 100 have been a little more subtle. There's a more aggressive grille, silver skid plates front and rear, while the range-topping K8 also benefits from 15-inch diamond-cut dual-tone alloys. Inside there is new fabric upholstery, piano black detailing on certain trim levels, as well as a 7-inch touchscreen on the K8 variant. The KUV is available with petrol and diesel power plants, the latter producing a healthy 57 kilowatts and 119 Newton meters of torque. Prices range from 135,000 Rand for the K2 plus petrol to 220,000 Rand for the K8 diesel. You'll need about 6 times that to park a BMW 6 Series GT in your garage, so the Ignition team felt rather chuffed to have one in ours for a week.
The BMW 6 Series GT for me has never really been a car I like looking at. It's a bit confused for me because are you a sedan and you're half coupe and you're half SUV? It's like, just make up your mind and be something.
BMW worked really hard to make the design a little bit more palatable. Still not the best looking car, I must admit, but from the right angles, she does look quite striking, although I'm still a little bit confused about its purpose.
I love the looks of the 6 Series GT. In fact, I will go as far as to say that I even liked the 5 Series GT that preceded it. There's just something almost like an 80s Rover Vitesse about it. And it's got frameless doors, which is one of my favorite styling features on any car.
It is spacious in the back as well as in the front, plenty of leg room. Also, it's very sophisticated. You get, that ambience lighting as well that also sets the mood for that upper market car that it really is.
This car is not about being sporty or about dynamic driving. It's about comfort. It's about long distance driving in serene silence, as Zipporah likes to put it.
We've got the 640i that's fitted with a 3-litre twin scroll. My money, I would probably option for the 630D instead. You lose a second off your 0 to 100 times, but you gain an extra 170 Newton meters. And also apparently your fuel consumption is a lot better. BMW claims 8.5 for the 640i. We're hovering around the 12.5 region.
If I had to find some faults in it, I couldn't figure out for the life of me why this car doesn't have keyless entry. It really is sort of a schlep for me to have all my bags and groceries and still take out this beautiful key that I still need to press on top of that.
There isn't really much not to like about the car. The only problem is the Audi A7. There are still A7 units available for sale in South Africa, even though the new one has been launched overseas. And if it were my money, I would get the A7 bi-turbo TDI, which is, to my mind, a better looking car with a better balanced chassis, a nicer interior, and crucially, amazing fuel economy from its turbo diesel power plant.
Don't go away, because after the break we compare two city cars that couldn't be more different. Welcome back to Ignition GT. Now, right at the start of the show, we mentioned how slim the pickings are if you happen to be shopping for an entry-level sedan. If however you don't have the need for the additional boot space, there are a couple of really interesting alternatives, as Brenwyn and Zipporah found out.
South Africa has entered a technical recession, which means many of us will need to start tightening our belts.
And maybe instead of cutting down on those trips to Sandton City, you can save in other areas, like the car you drive.
With that in mind, we decided to present to you two offerings to demonstrate just how much small car you can get for between 155,000 Rand and 250,000 respectively. Zoom in, cue the dramatic music.
Confetti all around. So matching up with my outfit here a bit today, I've got the Suzuki Celerio 1 litre GL. What do you have, Brendan?
I have brought the Opel Adam 1 litre T Jam. Not toe jam, just jam.
It is quite important to say that these two are not direct rivals.
They're not direct rivals, but they do share commonalities. They're both cheap, cheerful, small cars that you can pick up, put in your top pocket.
My car, though, is for the practical buyer. You know, someone who really wants to get from point A to B, but not skimming on the essential parts.
Whereas mine has a bit more frills to it. It's targeted towards upwardly mobile, urban, trendy, young, fashionista, wants to make a statement. It's that kind of audience that they're speaking to with the Opel Adam. And of course, we must be mindful that around 100,000 Rand separates these cars.
Yep.
At just over 3.5 meters, the Adam and Celerio are similarly pint-sized, but the Adam is lower and wider, giving it a squat, sporty look.
What the Suzuki lacks in style, it more than makes up for in practicality. 4 doors ensure ease of entry for you and your passengers, while the boot can swallow useful 235 liters of Prada bags. The Adam, on the other hand...
Yes, at just 170 liters, the only Prada you'll be able to get into the back of the Adam is a pair of sunglasses.
So similarities don't end with the dimensions. Both these cars, under the hood, have 1 litre 3-cylinder engines, with mine pushing out 50 kilowatts and 90 newton meters of torque. Tell me about yours.
That's really quite modest. Mine has a turbocharger, so I've got 85 kilowatts and 170 newton meters of torque.
Quite punchy.
That's punchy.
So tell me, what are your figures? Let's talk economy.
I was hoping you didn't touch on economy, but anyway. Opel claims 4.7 liters per 100 kilometers, but in the real world, I find that that gets more sort of towards 8.
So I definitely win with that one, because mine does 5.5 liters per 100 kilometer. Quite frugal.
And that's, of course, a real world figure.
Very real world, very frugal. I sometimes want to celebrate when I get into these budget buys, and they come with safety features. Like this GL model comes with passenger and driver airbags, as well as ABS.
Fantastic. Definitely items you want in a small car.
Yes, also what you do want is auxiliary, USB and Bluetooth connection, which come equipped in this, as well as some steering functions. Did I not say they're definitely not skimming on this?
Yeah, really good. And I think the quality as well must be mentioned. Acceptable levels of plushness and certainly not as nasty as what you'd get in some of the other cars costing around this price bracket.
I definitely agree with that.
Now, Zipporah, you talked about feeling in a celebratory mood whenever you found safety features in a car. Well, I think you're going to find this is particularly festive because I've got 6 airbags up in here. 6 airbags, blind spot monitoring, a parking assistant, in addition to your usual steering control, Bluetooth, and of course Opel's IntelliLink interface.
It definitely is well equipped. I feel comfortable in this.
This is a small luxury car, pretty much.
Should explain the price tag.
Now, some people opine that slow car fun is better than fast car fun, if that makes any sense. And when you drive a small, not very powerful car like this, you can kind of understand what people are saying because,
Yeah.
you know, it just encourages you to wring its neck, and because of its small dimensions, you can really seize all those gaps in traffic, which I really like about the Adam.
I like that it's turbocharged as well, so you do get that extra bit of punch from the engine.
It puts a smile on your face.
It actually does.
And it makes a nice little noise too, like listen. I like it. I really like it. That 3-cylinder engine can err on the clattery side when you're idling, of course, because of its uneven number of cylinders. But overall, it feels like quite an accomplished car, even on the freeway when all you want to do is just cruise.
So yeah,
at
it
the
does
limit.
make up for that bit of clutter and noise that it makes when it's idling. So
It's fairly refined. It's nice.
So Brendan, having jumped from a turbocharged engine into my bit basic one,
Slightly more basic.
slightly more basic, but you know what, it does what you need it to do. It's very reliable.
Honest.
It's honest, and I like that it's not selling you dreams. It's not
Absolutely
selling
not.
you dreams. It does what you need it to do, and I like that about it. I should remind you, fuel efficiency in this car.
You've been laboring that point, but I'll give it to you.
I need to, because this car was not designed to go fast at all. Okay? You do get a bit of a wind noise. You have to consider that, obviously, for what you're paying for this car. It is a budget buy.
Of course, and you must expect those kind of things. I mean, it's not as sure-footed as the Adam, of course. It runs
Sure.
on skinny tires.
It really does, and for me, I do somehow get a bit anxious.
Yeah, I mean, in its habitat, which is the city, which is where we are now, it excels.
It really
Great
excels.
turning circle.
It is a city
nimble.
car. It's very zesty, I think, for what
Yeah.
it is. I'm happy.
No, I agree. For what it is, this is a good car. The equivalent derivative from Fiat, the 500 Lounge, will cost 256,900 Rand. Pay a little more and you can get into the entry-level Mini 1 hatch, which costs 302,200 Rand.
The Suzuki Celerio competes with the Toyota Aygo, which will set you back 166,800 Rand, while the popular Hyundai Grand i10 will set you back 159,900 Rand.
So Zipporah, we've proven with our exercise today that if you need to downsize, it doesn't necessarily mean you also have to skimp on the essential amenities.
I mean, of course, it does come down to budget and preference and how much you can tighten your belt.
And so with that, we've come to the end of another episode, but please do join us again next time when Brendan hits the racetrack in the Aston Martin Vantage.
As you would expect, all these ingredients make the Vantage, well, pretty awesome to pilot.
And Hyundai's eagerly awaited Kona makes its South African debut. So we'll definitely be seeing you again next week, but until then, you know what to do. Keep left and pass right. Oh, and put those cell phones down.